Hi, this is Tammy Cunningham, Mastery Facilitator from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I'm here today talking to Christine Kimberly, the author of the Mastery book, which is called On the Edge. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Tammy.
Thank you so much for doing this transatlantic call with me. I'm on the line with Christine from England, which feels kind of exciting. So I have a couple of questions for you. I wonder if you would tell me about how you came to Mastery.
Surely. I did the Mastery in London in 1983. I'd trained as an actress at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School in England, and there I'd met somebody called Nigel Hughes. Now, Nigel discovered the Mastery, and he did it and got in touch with all his friends and said, I've just done this wonderful workshop, must all do it, and so on and so on. And he got in touch with me about it, and I thought, no, I don't think so. That doesn't sound like my thing. I don't think I'll get much out of that. I'm not going to bother with that. And then a few months later, he got in touch again about a coach he was organizing for a demonstration against cruise missiles, which was a big thing at the time at Greenham Common. And so I signed up for that, and I went along with this coach to this demonstration. And the meeting point was the Actors Institute. And on the coach on the way to Greenham, I was sitting next to somebody called Andy Harmon, who was teaching at the Institute, and he was doing improvisation classes. They were based on Viola Spolin, who wasn't very well known in England at the time. And they sounded like good fun. So I thought, great, yes, I'll sign up for that. I'll go and do those. So I did, and they were great fun. And as I was getting to know people around the Institute, everybody kept saying, Christine, you must do the Mastery. You'd love the Mastery. You must do it. So one day I had some spare money. I'd just done a commercial, and I thought, okay, I'm not doing anything this weekend. I'll go and do the Mastery. So I signed up. I pulled out one of my repertoire of audition speeches. Didn't learn anything special for it. Just brought out a speech. Went along and did it, and it blew me away. I was just stunned by it. I loved every minute of it. Even the minutes where I felt uncomfortable, I just loved the whole experience of it. Doing my speech was wonderful, absolutely divine, and I really got off on the facilitation, how it worked, and how Sally Fisher, who led my Mastery, actually, how did she do that? And watching everybody, it was just so brilliant, actually seeing people transform and become more of themselves and become fuller, and I just loved it. So after that, I backrode as many Masters as I could. I started enrolling the workshop, and I just really got stuck into the whole thing. And in fact, apart from my rent, I spent more money on the Institute and classes and being there. I practically lived there than I did on anything else in my whole life, really.
That sounds amazing. So, and when you did your Mastery, what would you say was the biggest thing that you got from doing it?
I think the biggest thing was getting a sense of being seen. I didn't go along to the workshop with any expectations, far from it, and I didn't go along thinking, yes, I would like to work on this, or this, when I come out, I would like this to happen. So I sort of went in completely open to anything. And what really, really got me, I think there were two things. First of all, because I come from a theatrical family, my parents were in vaudeville, and so we lived a fairly chaotic life, big emotions, quite a bit of traveling when I was young, and I felt all the time that I wasn't quite sure where I fitted in. I was loved to bits. My parents loved me and were great, and we had great laughs and everything. But I never quite knew where I fitted in, and I sort of felt like I'd become their audience. And doing the Mastery and doing my piece, I really felt seen, possibly for the first time. Because ironically, I was quite shy. Because my parents were so big, I could never compete with them. And I never felt that I had, I was sort of up there with them. So I went the other way, and I became very shy. And in fact, I used to stutter a bit. I mean, you wouldn't think it now, but I used to stutter when I was a child. And I grew out of that, but I never quite grew out of that feeling of not being seen and being a little bit too small for the room, really. And I got this amazing sensation when I did my piece that I was seen. And it felt like for the first time. And I thought, hey, actually, I exist. I am here. Wow. So that was pretty much it.
Oh, that was it. You were seen. Oh, my gosh, it sounds so wonderful. What an amazing experience. I think a lot of people would really like to just be seen and be in the moment and be in their bodies. And so it sounds like that's where you got to be there.
Yep. I think that's so.
So now you've written this book about the mastery, and I read it. I loved it. Christine, I just loved it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for writing it. So tell me about your experience and how you came to writing a book about the mastery.
Well, I've been involved, one way or another, I've been involved in the work since 1983. So when... after about 20 years, or if not more, 25 years, I realized how big a part of my life it's become. And I suddenly thought, well, two things. First of all, I wanted to celebrate the fact that it was such a big piece of my life. And the second thing was I wanted to record it. I think it is a phenomenal piece of work. And I think it ranks right up there with any technology in terms of personal development that has been developed in the latter half of the 20th century. And I thought, this needs to be recorded. And so I wanted to celebrate, and I wanted to record it. And I was also aware that, to the best of my knowledge, nobody else had done that. I mean, I know that loads of people have written, have been interviewed and have written things. I know that people have done university degree theses on the mastery. But to the best of my knowledge, nobody had ever gathered it together under one roof, so to speak, and in one book. And I thought, well, this has got to be done. Somebody's got to do it. And I thought, I wonder who that will be. And I thought, it's me. I'm going to do it.
The dawning realization, I have a lot of work to do here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little did I know just how much work I had to do.
Oh, my gosh. Say more about that.
Well, only by virtue of the fact that I've never written a book before. I've never done a book. I've never produced a book before. So everything was new. Also, although I knew the leaders in England and I knew quite a few in the States, I knew that there were far more leaders out there than I knew. And I sort of thought, well, are people going to want to do this? How am I going to do this? How can I record something which is so indefinable? It's like, how do you explain the taste of an orange to somebody who's never tasted one? If you really think about that, what do you say about it if they've never tasted it? So, you can't really capture creativity beyond the moment. So how do you put it on paper? And I thought, well, I could write my deconstruction of the work, how I think it works. But that didn't seem right. I wanted to do something which would actually capture the essence. And it's almost as if I needed to capture it by reflecting it. And so I thought, well, how can I do that? And then I thought, if I ask every leader that I can find what attracted them to the work in the first place, why did they want to do it as a participant? Then why did they want to lead it and train to lead it and go through that extra journey? And what have they got out of it? What does the work mean to them? So I thought, if I can get enough people to do that, that will be the best reflection I can come up with. And I am thrilled to say that Michael Maynard, who was the first Brit to lead, his feedback on the book was that it's the mastery on paper, which is absolutely, my highest desire for the project was to do that. And so I got in touch with everybody I knew and said, hey, I'm going to be this is what I want to do. Will you write me between 500 and 1,000 words about being a participant, being a leader, and so on? And will you put me in touch with other people to do the same? So everybody was fine. Everybody was great about it. But this wasn't my full-time job. So I would pick it up and put it down when I found a new leader. And I just kept collecting and collecting and collecting. And some people came to me with more than the 1,000 words I'd asked for. So then I have to say, okay, right, who's going to edit this, you or me? Because it's going to have to be edited. Because I was really keen to make sure that everybody got the same opportunity. And so I didn't show any particular bias towards anybody. And that's why I kept the, to 1,000 words. And so that's really how I set out to do it. And I thought, if I do it that way, the other thing that will happen is I'll get the history of the work. And indeed I did. And it came out in a really organic way. That's what I wanted for the book. I wanted it to be organic, like a mastery is. There's terrific structure in the mastery. Everybody knows what's happening next, and there's a great format to it. But within that, anything goes and anything can happen. So I wanted that feel for the book as well. As I was going along and as I was it took me 7 years to collect all of them.
Oh, my goodness.
And as they came along, I suddenly realized that there was a form coming out of this and that I ought to create sections. So within the book, I've got the very, very beginning of the work. The very first mastery. How did it happen? How did it come around? Then a section on the leaders through, right the way across the world. And then when the work is gone, it's been done a lot in Israel. So I got in touch with Harold Louis, eventually, when I found him, in Israel. And he wrote some fabulous stuff about the work in Israel and how that had developed. And he also lives in France, so I got contributions coming. He wrote to me about France. And then, of course, there was the AIDS mastery, which Sally Fisher really got started. And so then there was a section on the AIDS mastery. And, of course, the book wouldn't be complete without a contribution from Dan Fauci himself. So he wrote me the most wonderful, wonderful section on his inspiration for the mastery. How did it come about, and what did it mean for him? And so it grew and grew. And then what about the participants? How is the leaders, or are the leaders' leadership, how is it reflected back to them? So I thought, I'm going to have to ask the participants. So there's a section of participant feedback as well. And it grew really organically. And I found a great designer who lives locally to me, and she did a wonderful job. We sat for hours and hours in front of her computer, looking at how do we make sure that there's air and light and space around the words, so it doesn't become just like a sort of a telephone directory. And I was really concerned all the time to have the book reflect as accurately as possible the work itself.
Wonderful. And I have to say the design of the book is so clean and so refreshing. And it does feel like there's real movement. When I was reading the book, I really felt moved by it, and there's just the way that you did it was really wonderful. And it looks like you talked to so many people, like you really had some conversations and went on this amazing journey for 7 years.
Yes, I think it's really interesting. It's you saying that, Tammy, that sort of made me become aware of that journey. It's become so much really a part of my life now, because it's, it's here. It's as I'm talking, I have my right hand on it. It's a reality. It's here, and it's become another part of my life, and it's really important that it was done, really to the very, very best it could be, so it did reflect the work.
And you actually got some contributions from some very interesting, everybody was interesting, but it was very exciting for me to see the foreword and all that kind of thing. And so tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm aware and have been aware always that there have been some participants in the mastery who are very well known, that a lot of people who are very high up in their own industries, sometimes in the theatre, but not always in the theatre. There are lots and lots of people, particularly as the work has progressed. Certainly in England, I think we have far, far fewer actors and performers doing the mastery than we do people who are, in other walks of life. But many of them aren't known publicly, perhaps, as well as the actors that have done it. And so I wanted to get somebody to write a foreword for it that would be somebody who would be recognized on both sides of the Atlantic, and somebody who could write something which would really make people who haven't done the work or don't know the history, it would sort of be a great sort of way of firing the book up, if that makes sense, to actually have somebody of real caliber who was involved in the work and who loves the work to write an introduction to it, write the foreword, and say what it had done for them, because I think that's incredibly, incredibly empowering. And so, talking to Dan, we came up with Ted, and bless his cotton socks, he just sort of did it and wrote this fantastic foreword, and really shows how what a great guy he is, but also that not everybody is necessarily sort of born at the top. His journey is fascinating as well, and his journey through the work and what he's got out of it, I think, is really inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Very inspiring. I was very inspired by what he wrote. His humility and his honesty was just wonderful. Christine, I have a question for you.
Yep.
What would you say is the biggest thing that you got from the mastery that you use all the time in your life?
I think it's there's two things. First of all is, I think one of the big ones is not being afraid of not knowing. I don't need to have everything tacked down anymore. I don't worry so much. It's just something will be created in the next moment. At the moment, I'm sitting here in my home at my dining table, and I'm aware that I'm looking at my right hand, and I can see my right hand moving as I'm speaking, because I speak a lot with my hands. And I just know all the time that the next thing is going to occur. And that's, for me, that's a very powerful thing. And I don't know what it's going to be. I didn't know that the next thing that was going to occur with my book was that you were going to get in contact with me. And that's just phenomenal. There are constantly possibilities out there all the time. There's always the possibility of something new, something different. So not being afraid of not knowing is a very, very big one. The second one, I think, has to do with courage. I don't see myself as the most courageous person in the world. But what I do know is I won't die. That there are things in my life that I don't feel sometimes I can do, and then I just do them. And guess what? I don't die. Now, I know that there are situations, of course, in the world. I'm not stepping into a war zone. But there have been times in my life when I have a feeling inside that suggests to me that I am not safe and I will die. And it's my own personal experience is that is not true. So, do it and see. So that's been another great one. Just do it and see what happens.
That sounds fantastic. And it really embodies, certainly I share that experience of the mastery in terms of it. It really is like just take the next step. The whole thing about resisting. So many people are in resistance to the things that they want and desire and love, and then ask the question, why am I so tired? Because they're leaning in and leaning back at the same time. It's so exhausting.
I think another big one as well is forgiving myself. Oh boy, am I able to beat myself up if I want to. But there's something again that has come through the mastery. It's you're okay. I'm all right already. Okay, maybe I did. I did something which I might have done differently had I not done it the way I'd done it. But okay, I'll let you off that one, gal. I'll forgive you for that one. So forgiveness was another big one.
That's terrific. So I want to make sure that people know how to get the book. So how can people get the book? The way people can get the book at the moment is by going onto my website, which is www.christinekimberly.com. That's Christine Kimberly as all one word. And when you get on the site, you'll see a banner which says "Buy the book here," and you just follow that through. Terrific. And I understand there will be people distributing also in various areas like North America. Yes, I'm working on that now. As a self-publisher, I don't have the distribution network that happens with books that are published by publishing houses. So at the moment, I'm working. I mean, the book's only been out for the end of March, so it's all still new and it's all still early days. And my aim is to make sure that the book is available in North America without people having to come to me to get it. And that's all in the pipeline. It will happen, but at the moment, the only place that you can get it is direct from me, unless you happen to live in England, because we have a theatre bookshop in London called French's, which is the oldest and best established theatre bookshop in the country. And as of this Friday, they'll be stocking it. Oh, good. Wonderful. So you are on the shelves. yes, it's great, isn't it? With your first time book. I've been on. Well, no, is it the first time I've been on the shelf? No, yes, I think it's the first time I've been on the shelf. That is so wonderful. Well, I want to congratulate you for a job really well done. Thank you. Beautiful piece. Thank you so much for writing it, and also thank you for taking the time today to talk to me about it. I know that mastery grads are very interested, so thank you so much. Oh, it's been my pleasure, Tammy. Thank you so much for asking me. It's been lovely talking with you. Great. Okay, take care then. And you too.